I don't even think I got out of the quarantine, did I?
No, you're under arrest before you left quarantine.
What would happen if you got caught with a gram of coke on you?
You've got to get onto it because otherwise, if you go plead guilty in court, the car's gone.
It's Friday, then we going live again. So get your snorkels out and let me see some skits. Smoke tires, not drugs, what we teach the kids. I can't man, castrate that rapper. Middle finger to the sky, scream fuck, rap the bit.
All right, guys. Episode 8 on Choi Candy, Chit Chat, This That. I've got Blake Fraser here from Fraser Lawyers. It's helped me out quite a lot in my Gold Coast lifetime. Actually, I'm trying to think, when did we even meet? Would have been...
I think it was the minute that you stepped onto Queensland soil.
Actually, I don't even think I got out of the quarantine, did I?
No, you're under arrest before you left quarantine.
So, obviously, I sort of knew who Blake was because of Nick, Garage 84. He'd run a bit of a muck, and I'm sure you helped him out a lot of times.
Yes, definitely.
And then for you guys that didn't know, I apparently had an outstanding. Well, we're getting straight into this, but I had a outstanding. What would you call it? Charge that I didn't know about.
Yes.
So, the famous Black Diamond barbecue in 2019, maybe, where a couple of snags, a couple of skids, and it got a bit rowdy. Long story short, I just came up, did that, had the holiday, left, went home, didn't think nothing of it. COVID came into Melbourne. Well, COVID came everywhere, but I was in Melbourne, it was hell. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to move to Queensland for a bit. Did my quarantine, did my 2 weeks in quarantine. And then the cops actually work at the quarantine facility. So when they knocked on the door after 2 weeks, I was like, yes, I'm free, let me out. And they're like, you're under arrest. I'm like, nah. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, fuck off. I just did not believe him. I was like, someone's taking a piss. I'm like, someone must know one of the cops in there or something. And then they're like, nah, you're seriously under arrest. And does your missus want to come or stay here? And then I'm like, what the fuck? And then who rang you? Because I didn't even have a phone. They didn't.
I think Anita called me.
How did she know?
Probably through Nick.
Fuck. Oh yeah, she must have rang Nick and then rang you, and then what happened? I was in the frigging cop shop cell.
Yes.
And this, mind you, I got no idea what this is over. It's all over the burnout, but I got no freaking clue, because why would they have never sent a summons or a thing to my house in Melbourne?
Oh, it's not uncommon for different states. Effectively, the offence was committed in Queensland, so Victorian police don't want to know about it, and Queensland police aren't going to fly down to Melbourne to extradite you back to Queensland over a burnout.
Yeah, so it really so if I had lived in Queensland and I did that barbecue, I probably would have just got a cop rock up my house and serve me with some papers and say go to court.
Correct.
But instead they've arrested me.
Yes. I think...
Why did that get so... Why didn't they just serve me with papers?
I can't remember specifically. I'm pretty sure there's a warrant out for your arrest, which is why ultimately you got arrested. There must have been a breakdown in communication or something like that. Ordinarily, the police would try and telephone your number that's on record, whether your number was on record or not.
Yeah.
I'm sure it would have been on the internet somewhere, and say to you, we want to talk to you in relation to these charges. But there's obviously been a breakdown there for some reason or another, and a warrant was issued for your arrest.
It really got out of hand, didn't it?
It did.
But we had a pretty good we had a great outcome.
Yeah, we did.
I kept my license.
Yeah, that's right. I think the initial charge was dangerous operation of a vehicle.
Yeah.
Criminal offence, carries mandatory disqualification of licence of 6 months.
True. And it's you get a conviction for it if it's criminal.
Oh, it's discretionary as to whether or not a conviction's recorded. So
well, but they could if they hated you.
They could.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately we ended up resolving that with a driving without due care and attention, which is essentially a careless driving charge.
Yeah.
3 demerit points, a fine, and you kept your licence.
That was a commonly asked question, people asking me, because obviously I gave people a heads up that you're coming on the show, and obviously I've got quite a car enthusiast audience, and a lot of the questions are like, what happens if you get caught doing a burnout, this and that, but this one always spins people out, the sort of, where's the fine line between that wasn't on the road. It was sort of on private property, but it was in a car park. But like, you know, it's like,
The definition of road actually extends well beyond what you would consider to be a road. So obviously
Yep.
car park falls within the extended definition. There's even a district court case which talks about in a drink driving sense, because the charge effectively reads something along the lines of, you know, a person must not drive a vehicle on a road or elsewhere whilst intoxicated. And this district court case looked at what the meaning of elsewhere was, because a bloke had been charged with drink driving in his own driveway. And it was ultimately held that elsewhere is effectively anywhere.
fuck, that's concerning.
Yeah. Because this is like common perception that if you're on your own property, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But
Well, when I say concerning, I don't condone drink driving at all. But, you know, we have like even our VT derby days and shit. Not to saying I drink drive, but someone there might. And
Yes.
then, you know, you just have a bit of fun with the boys. Next minute, you're in fucking jail.
yeah,
That's because I had I think it was 2012. I had a Skyline. I did it in my factory. Same thing. Cops came, questioned me, charged me. They were going to seize the vehicle, but luckily it turns out I had actually sold it the day before, so they couldn't do that. But that same thing where I was like, what the hell? I'm in my own factory, in my own car park. That was bad though. That was bad for me because that was probably one of my first court cases. And I was young, didn't have much money, and I didn't really understand what I guess a lawyer or solicitor could do. So I just sort of went in there and just thought, fuck, it's not like I've stabbed anyone. It's just a burnout. How bad can it be? And then even when you've gone through my priors and you're like, bro, why have you got, what was it, conduct endangering lives or something, criminal charge?
yes.
Everyone like spins out. They're like, how the fuck you got that? And I'm like, I don't know. I did a burnout. And then like, you know, obviously I think there's a high chance if I was represented properly.
Well, I think that the equivalent in Queensland would be dangerous operation of a motor vehicle, which is what you were charged with for the Helensvale
Yeah, okay.
burnout, the Black Diamond one. So, yeah, I mean, arguably you may have got a different result or been able to negotiate it down to something else.
Fucking spewing A, because it's just one little fucking dumb mistake when you're young, like going, I'll be right, and it fucking sticks.
Well, with the new hooning laws, they're actually quite full on. You know, first hooning offence, car can be impounded for 90 days.
Really? 3 months straight up?
Yeah, if it's a type 1, so that could just be as simple as doing burnout, something like that, 90 days. And then second offence is forfeiture to the Crown.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck, you're freaking me out. I'm not fucking doing skids anymore. Well, I don't on the road. I only do in Mexico. But, yeah, that's nuts. And I actually saw a question. Someone asked, can they actually crush your car? And
Yeah, they can. I mean, if it's if it's your second type 1 offence and you're liable for forfeiture, you can still make an application to have your vehicle returned. But if you're unsuccessful in that application, then ultimately, yes, once the matter's been dealt with, it's forfeited to the Crown and they'll crush it.
what would a good application look like for?
Well, there's various different grounds you can make an application on. I think the primary one that we would make application on would be financial hardship. So usually it's a vehicle that somebody needs to drive to work or they need for their employment. So we would go through and would set out how the loss of that vehicle is really going to impact that person.
Yep.
And that would be the basis of the application.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I was just like one example of something that, you know, would be worth trying to.
Well, definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, in certain instances, I've had clients that stand to lose $60,000 cars, $120,000 cars.
Yeah.
And therefore, the application becomes even more important because, you know, it might be a $120,000 C63. You lose that, you're paying a $120,000 loan potentially.
And you can't, might be your only car, so you can't even get to work to get the money to pay the car off.
That's right. So the applications are made directly to the police service and the police have 5 business days to respond to an early release application. And then if that's unsuccessful, you've got a right to appeal that to the magistrate's court and it's ultimately then up to a magistrate as to whether or not the car should be returned for whatever grounds it's been applied for under. But the important thing with people who are charged with those sorts of offences and the vehicle's taken is that once their charge has been dealt with, it's too late.
Yeah, you can't go back and...
That's right. So those applications and that whole process...
You got to get onto it.
You've got to get onto it because otherwise, if you go plead guilty in court,
the
car's gone.
I guess there's heaps of different like hooning charges. Like I've seen people go, I got done doing donuts in an intersection. Fair enough. Then I've seen some people go, I just took off from the lights. Then I've heard even some people just have been done under noise and acceleration.
Yes.
And they actually haven't broken traction. They've just... Have you seen or heard of anything where it's gone to court and it's been that petty by the cop that, they've actually fought it and said I'll put the foot down a bit, but I didn't do a burnout. There was no intentional hooning. And, because I guess that's it's sort of rough in a way that it comes down to the cop. If you're going to do fucking donuts and get on the brake and smoke the joint out, you know what you're doing. But I mean, there's times where, you pull in that left lane at the lights and then you want to get in front of people. You don't do a burnout or nothing, but you accelerate heavy. And then, if say a cop wanted to just go, fuck, I'm going to fuck his day.
Yeah, it is ultimately up to the officer at that point in time. I mean, there's 4 things that you would normally be charged in those instances or in relation to hooning type offences. The first of which is failure to maintain proper control of a vehicle.
Yep.
Which I think off the top of my head is one demerit point. It's a finable offence. They can send you to court for it if they wish. The second would be unlawfully making or willfully making unnecessary noise and or smoke. So that's where people who are just making, revving the car really loudly could fall under that. Ordinarily that would be your burnouts off the lights and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that can be classed as a hooning type offence, so it can carry impound periods and what have you.
Yeah.
Next one up from that, drive without due care and attention, which is less common that we would see. And then above that, you've got dangerous operation of a vehicle. So, yes, it's up to the officer at that point in time to choose what they're going to charge the offender with. But that's where we would step in and say, look, we don't really think that this would meet the criteria, say, of dangerous operation. It should be willfully making unnecessary noise and smoke or driving without due care and attention because they've smoked out the street and caused other road users inconvenience.
Yeah. But... Well, I've never been charged with failure of motor vehicle because I think they just see that they're like, man, this cunt has full control. He's a fucking mad snake. Nah, jokes, guys, don't do that. But that's I thought more too I don't know. I just wasn't sure if there's ever been a time where the judge has gone fuck, are we actually sitting here because this guy accelerated off a red light? Surely that there's some times where. You've seen I don't know, just the cop just being a wanker, and then everyone's just sitting in court over something so petty. I don't know.
Look, it generally won't get to that point because there's a bit of a division, right? You've got the officer that charges the person, and then the file then gets handed over to police prosecutions. Police prosecutions are ultimately the ones that then have to prosecute the charge, pursue it through the courts. So they're the ones that we'll be dealing with and negotiating with. And, we might be pointing out, look, this is the criteria for dangerous operation. These are the circumstances in this offence, and perhaps another charge might be more appropriate. Yeah. So although it's been charged as one thing, it can be amended to something else.
So it's actually been a while since I've been through Touchwood, so I've forgotten how it all works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess considering how high they escalated my charge, I came out pretty good.
Yeah, it was a good result.
I think it was a good result. And then what was the other one we had? Oh, the raid. That was hectic.
Yeah, that was pretty full on.
That was nuts. That was so obviously you got a handful of haters on the internet who still to this day think I'm a drug dealer. Good on you. But for the people that know that I'm not, you'll find this pretty interesting, I thought. But no priors, nothing, no associate, I've nothing to do with drugs. And then obviously 6 a.m, hear the door getting smashed in. I straight away thought, fuck, we're being robbed by like, you know, these little Gold Coast gangs, kids, whatever. They, you know, they want to try and steal my cars or something. So I'm like freaking out because it was pretty loud. And then I thought they were in the garage, like ramming the garage out. That's what, because it was so fucking loud.
Yeah.
And then I like came downstairs half asleep and I saw like the police uniform. I was like sort of relieved. I was like, thank fuck. I'm like, yeah, I'll open it. And then they kept banging. I'm like, I'll open it. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? This guy's not listening. And then he like runs upstairs, tackles me to the ground, fucking throwing me on the ground, carrying on, fucking saying, oh, grab Anita, where's the baby, this, that. And then I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? Straight away, you know what I thought? I'm like, because straight away, they wouldn't tell me for a bit. And then they're like, oh, handcuffed me and sat me down. They're like, oh, you know, we're looking for drugs. Straight away, I'm like, I bet you all my, this is my fucking head running. This is how confused I was.
It's all caught up to me.
I'm like, I bet you my hooning has like pissed the cops off that bad. They've stashed drugs in the house and now they're fucking raiding me. That's what I started thinking. I'm like, my mind was going like a million miles an hour because I'm like, no way they would actually think I'm dealing drugs or got drugs. Like, you know, if they'd surveillance me or whatever. So I was like, they've fucking put him in the house. So I'm just sitting there on the couch like, what the fuck? They're just going to pull out like 18 kilos of cocaine and just go. I'm like, bro, I was like, that's what I had actually no fucking idea that you could just get your house smashed in, cuffed, thrown to the ground with no priors, no nothing. And like, it was fucking full on. Like it was pretty, it was like pretty full on. And I reckon it fucking was one of the reasons I got out of that house after that. I didn't like it. Like I'd always just, I don't know.
Bit of bad juju.
Yeah, bad juju. Like I said, people go, oh, well, why were you so scared if you did nothing wrong? But like that happened once. I'm like, fuck. Anytime I heard a bang at the door, if it was a postie, I'm like, don't shoot. But in the end, yeah, what they found, nothing, some tramadol that was nix, and a lot of headaches and fuck arounds. But I mean, you did a shitload of. We didn't end up going to court, did we? Or did we?
We went through the process. There was some evidence that was disclosed, and then ultimately,
You did a lot of negotiating before the court, though, didn't you?
well, before it had a need to go to a trial,
Yeah.
and then the charges were ultimately no evidence was offered, and the charges were withdrawn.
Yeah. I mean, one side of me like, fuck, it's a mad result. But on the other side, I'm like, I didn't fucking do anything.
It's a lot to go through. Definitely a lot to go through.
It is, yeah. That was so I mean, between those and then obviously I've got you do heaps of like contracts and sort over stuff and what do you enjoy doing? Like obviously there's stuff that pays the bills and there's stuff that you enjoy, or is it same for you?
Look, it really varies. When I first started out, I never wanted to go anywhere near criminal law.
Yeah.
And just sort of organically moved into that. And
why was that?
I think I just got a taste for it. Like, you know, the odd person would contact me and say, look, can you help me out help me out with this? I go and do it, sort of threw myself in the deep end, didn't really have any experience. And it got a bit of a buzz from it. It's quite a rewarding feeling going to court, you know, a bit of banter with the judge, prosecutor, and then getting, you know, a good result.
Yeah, okay.
It is quite a
bit more of a thrill
feeling.
than
yeah,
just cross your this, tick that, submit it.
exactly.
Yeah.
So then moved into a lot of that for a few years, and then started out doing just initially property, conveyancing, property settlements, stuff like that.
Yep.
Moved into the crime. Then through a friend of mine who's a barrister, sort of encouraged me to get into personal injury law.
Yep.
Which is, you know, like compulsory third party claims.
Yeah, like if someone hits you on a motorbike and you're covered by your, what is it, in Melbourne it's TAC, but I think you just have like
compulsory third
TMR,
party.
yeah, like your rego shit.
Work cover claims,
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. So then moved into a heap of that, and that's a big part of our practice now.
Yeah.
Then the last sort of few years I've been doing a lot of commercial law.
Yep.
So the agreements and whatnot that we've read through for you, that kind of thing, a lot of leasing.
Yep.
So it's just ever evolving over the last 10, 11 years.
But the criminal probably remains the most, so I guess, interesting because you'd probably just hear crazy stories and
It's definitely the most interesting. Sitting around waiting in court can be a bit of a bore sometimes.
yeah,
You know, there's a lot of, I guess, procedural stuff that happens with court. So that's not too exciting, but it really does have its exciting aspects, and, you know, it's rewarding. You get a good result for someone. They're ecstatic about it. So that's, to answer your question, though, it really depends. Criminal law can be rewarding. There are other areas which are more lucrative in terms of fees.
Yep.
But it's just nice having a good spread, because I know a lot of people, they'll focus, you know, I've got friends that do criminal law, for example, and they wouldn't know the first thing about a contract or about this or about that.
At least if someone comes to you, whether it's any sort of thing, or do you do like family court stuff, or?
We do family law. I personally try and sort of stay away from the family law.
Yeah, that'll be mentally draining, I reckon.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's obviously dedicated family lawyers that do quite really well out of it, and it's the difficult thing, I think, with family law is that it's heavily based on emotion.
That's what I mean. It'll be mentally like we're both dads. Imagine like either working for the partner that's trying to keep the kids, or the partner that, you know, whatever it is, and then you start to like, you wouldn't be able to help but to put yourself in their shoes.
But also, I mean, it's an area of law where you could have the best plan possible, or a client that's prepared to be as reasonable as possible, or more than reasonable in the circumstances. But because of that emotion that's involved, it doesn't necessarily achieve a result. So, you know, it's an area that can be quite drawn out, regardless of, you know, your client's intentions or your intentions.
Yep.
And it can be sometimes very hard to achieve a result.
Yep.
And I mean, for me, achieving results is what I like doing. So,
well, it's, you get the satisfaction, and you get paid.
That's right. But I mean, it is an area that's always going to be booming. There's always going to be a need for family law, unfortunately.
Yep.
So potentially an area of growth that we can look at in the future.
Yeah.
But at the moment, not doing a massive amount of family law.
Yeah. But still, yeah, I mean, anything I've thrown at you, you've managed to sort.
It's good having a bit of a, you know, diverse, you know, like different areas that are done, because sometimes there can be crossover.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, true. Like, yeah, different things in one sort of case almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And something might start out as a property matter that then could potentially turn criminal because of something that's been done, or, you know, there can be crossover, and just having that general understanding in different areas can certainly be helpful sometimes.
You would have met a few interesting characters then over, I guess if you work with someone, especially on a big case, you have to sort of, even if you don't want to, you sort of end up getting to know them.
Yeah, of course. And you know, with the criminal stuff, you need to know them, because that forms part of what will ultimately then be your submissions to the court. You know, you need to get an understanding of them, their history, their family history, their work history, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, we do end up, and then there's matters, whether it be criminal, whether it be some commercial matters, it could be a family law matter, whatever it might be, that can, personal injury, that can go on for a significant amount of time. So that's a lot of interaction with the client, getting to know them.
I mean, business must be good, bro. Fucking congratulations, by the way. That
Thank
thing's
you.
sick.
Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely, I'd probably end up back in court if I had that. It's fucking mad.
So I shouldn't let you take it for a drive?
Nah. Maybe on a closed road somewhere. Yeah.
In another country, South America.
Yeah. So no, it's good to see, man. It's the new place is like, it's huge. It looks like it's really I mean, fuck, you put some hours in though.
Yeah.
You're crazy, bro. You reply to my emails at 2 a.m. I'm like, is he up late or is he up early? Because sometimes at 3 a.m. I'm like, it's that weird time where it's either some people work till 2 then go to bed, or some people get up at 3 and start. You're like 2:30. I'm like,
no, I'm definitely waking up. So I yeah, I usually try and get to bed by sort of 8:30, and then I'll sleep for 4 or 5 hours and just wake up bing after that. Brain starts ticking, so I think,
bro,
get up and
that's
get into it.
Nuts. And then, fuck, you obviously fit a few hours in for gym every day. You're the fucking biggest fucking solicitor I know. Right, so you smack out some emails, then do you work out before you go in the office?
Usually I'll try and work out first thing, but it just depends on what the workload's doing. So
yeah.
If I've got too much on and feeling stressed and under the pump, I'll just get straight on the laptop when I wake up. Otherwise, just hop in the car, shoot down to the gym,
Yeah.
train for 45 minutes an hour and then head home.
At least no one will be there.
You'd be surprised.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck.
It's probably 10, 15 people,
There
same
you go.
group every morning.
No shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I thought I start early, 5:30.
There's something quite therapeutic about being up that early.
It's like you just got everything to yourself.
That's right. It's
You
like
don't get
the
distracted.
world is yours.
Yeah.
Phone's not ringing.
The roads are empty.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
that concentration that you can get when you're in the shower and you have all that.
Everything's blocked out.
Yeah.
Bro, all my best ideas have been in the shower when I'm just staring at the floor. And then all of a sudden 20 minutes has passed and I've just been in deep thought about
Well, it's
everything.
like that. You're driving around, there's no one on the roads,
Yeah.
just plenty of time to think.
Yeah, I do definitely think like probably from 6 till 10, I can get more work done than 10 till the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Because of just people ringing, whether it's social or work or just little distractions or, bump into the post guy and this and that. And I don't know, somehow 5 minutes there, 5 minutes there, grab a snack and then the day's gone.
That's right.
Yeah, that's 2:30, but I don't know if I can do that.
Look, I'd love to be able to sleep for 8 hours, but it just doesn't happen.
I mean, shit, throw that in the mix. You have two
Kids.
Two kids, yeah. So throw that in the mix, man. I got one and I struggle. I was going to ask, I had a couple of questions. Can you post skid videos online anymore?
Well, yeah, you
can.
you can post whatever you want.
But will you get done is another. I mean, so you have to prove a location,
Yes.
the car,
Date, time, and place.
date, time, and place. So
And obviously, somebody has to be identified as the offender.
yeah. So if you've got your windows up and your plates blurred, let's say you got your windows up and your plates blurred and you post a skid video and there's a street sign in it
Yes.
and they went, and maybe there was a camera there, they went, looked and there was a camera there and they saw the footage but they couldn't get the plate still.
Yes.
So they had the time, location, and they could see it was real because they'd seen it on there, but they still had no face, no plates.
Yes.
Could they say, like, go on Instagram and go,
If you got a cop that was keen enough, I suspect what they would probably do in that instance is, if they had a reasonable suspicion as to who the offender might have been, or at least who the owner of the vehicle might be, is go and get a search warrant for the vehicle and or the premises where the vehicle is ordinarily
see
stored.
if you've got the video on your phone.
Correct. So they would be looking for evidence in that form, or just identifying features on the vehicle. Like if he's got an iCandy Motorsports on the back windscreen.
See, that's what I didn't know. Like, say you had G up down the side of your car.
Yeah.
What if someone else had G up down the side,
Well, I mean, if there was two identical vehicles, it would make it difficult to run that argument for the police. But
So say I had a white GDS with G up down the side and then I got charged, or they were trying to charge me because they didn't have the face or didn't have the plates. And then it turns out one of my mates actually had a white GDS too with that, and then there could be more. Do you reckon there'd be too much doubt to be able to push it through?
maybe not necessarily enough doubt to stop you being charged.
Yeah, but for the reasonable doubt for the judge to go, oh, look, that might not have been him.
Correct, but it might take, you giving evidence or somebody else giving evidence of this other vehicle that there is a almost identical vehicle that exists, and it could have been that.
Gets pretty. I reckon probably most of the shit I hear now is literally from either someone posting something or someone having something on their phone and then getting their phone taken.
Correct.
Like most of the charges these days would probably be people who are like me have just been an idiot and posted their own offense. Like
Yes.
every time even when I was like friggin' 18, that's when it started for me, posting skid videos. And then like cops would come and defect the cars, find me, and my dad would just be like, because he's from a generation where you go out and do a burnout and you just watch it with your eyes, you and your mates, and that's it.
Yes.
So he just couldn't fathom. Like, I remember Dad saying, "Why the fuck do you post your burnout on the internet?"
Yes.
And I'm like, "Oh no, it's cool." And he's like, "You're a fucking idiot. Like, why can't you just go do the burnout?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Fuck, he's sort of right." Like, I've never actually been caught doing a burnout. Oh, once by a cop. Actually twice.
Caught in the act.
Yeah, really unlucky. But apart from that, most of all my charges are just been like video footage and shit like that.
And I think it's probably something that's going to become more and more of a problem because, you know, it does appear to be something where police are prepared to go to that effort if they've got strong enough suspicion and enough evidence to support at least who the registered owner is. They can serve them with a notice effectively requiring the owner of the vehicle to provide name, address, all the details of anybody who might have had access to that vehicle and been using that vehicle at the time of the offence.
I had that in Melbourne. I had a VF GTS and the car ended up in a police chase, and still to this day I never knew who it was. But yeah, they came, tried to check the cameras, but the camera, couldn't believe it, the camera box was broken, so it wasn't actually recording. And then we provided, we said it was actually unreasonable for me to say, like, ask everyone did they drive it, and then if they said no or no one owned up, I couldn't just fire my whole team.
Yes.
So I ended up having to go to court, said, look, here's a letter from the DVR guy. It was malfunctioned. I've asked everyone. I can't like punish them or fire them for not owning up. From now on, all the car keys are kept in a safe, and there's also this log book which everyone's now filling out whenever they drive a car.
Did the police go and investigate all the staff, or they didn't bother? But did they go and question them and say, "Hey, look, were you the one driving the vehicle?
No,
Do you know anything about?"
But they came in and they said, sort of all the staff was there because we were shocked because like it was like 8 cops walked in. It was really fucking hectic. And it was like on a Monday in front of customers and everything. And they walked in, they're like, "Wasn't you? We saw the driver," because they got close enough.
Right.
Like, wasn't you? Nah, he's not here. And I was like, huh, okay. And then, yeah, it was a really weird thing. But, yeah, I had that where they asked for names, numbers, how many days a week does this person work here, this, that, like, you know, who has access, who drives, like, all that sort of stuff. But, yeah, that was pretty wild. But, yeah, I guess that was probably one of the most asked common questions, like videos on the internet. So no plates, no face, no... Ideally... You don't really even want to have a location because there's so many freaking cameras everywhere.
Absolutely. And the other thing that we're seeing a lot of is police actually doing stakeouts in industrial areas and things like that, covert operations.
Oh, so they just hide there and just
hide there in buildings with all surveillance cameras, everything set up, and they'll just let the event happen, and then they'll go and start charging people after.
Oh, so it's not about like... Not really after that one kid that goes in and does a burnout. You're talking about the big hoon meets.
Hoon meets, yeah. And
so they'll let them all skid.
Yeah, and they've brought in new offences now. If you're spectating, you can be charged with an offence.
I saw that in Melbourne. It was like starting at $500 fine just for spectating.
Yes, participating, condoning. There's all that sort of behaviour now can be you can be charged for.
There you go. The hoons are just keeping the government funded. It's
But I've had a lot of clients that have, police have been investigating either an unrelated matter or a very specific matter.
Oh, I've been in the place and time and then...
No, they'll come through, with a search warrant for devices, laptops, phones, all that sort of stuff, and then find 12 videos on different occasions in different locations of skids or whatever it might be, and then all of a sudden there's your 12 dangerous operation charges. Or
Really?
Yeah.
That's hectic. Don't get my phone, guys. Jokes. Mine's all off-road anyway. I reckon I probably learned, like, well, obviously I don't do my skids on the road, but I've learnt what to post and what not to post because I've been done that many times. Like people are like, oh, how do you never get done? Like I've been done so many times.
I think the crazy thing about the hooning legislation and these dangerous operation offences and stuff like that is that the courts have this view where people need to have these harsh punishments, but licences need to be taken for minimum 6 months and things like that so that the community know that you can't commit these types of offences. But it seems to be the case that every client that I get through that's been to one of these hoon meets and been charged, they say to me, well, if I knew that this is what was going to happen, I would never have even attended. So the courts are handing out these heavy penalties, but it doesn't seem to be filtering back through to the people who are participating in the events.
Yeah, I guess it's a thing because I'm on that fine line where I promote not like it's hard. I'm not, I wouldn't say a reckless hoon. I love burnouts, skidding, driving fast, but you won't see me endangering other people's lives. That's the way I'd put it. Like you won't see, I see some videos where cunts are cutting through traffic, skidding like busy intersections, stuff like that. That actually pisses me off. Like if someone fucking crashed into my wife or mum on a public road, like I'd fucking kill him. Like, no, I wouldn't kill him, but I'd lose it. Like, you know, I hate seeing and hearing that shit. Same as drink driving, all that stuff. Like when you're endangering other people's lives. But I really don't get what the whole, you know, Timmy goes into an industrial estate by himself, does a donut and gets caught on CT. You know, like he's not endangering anyone else.
Yeah, well, I think the view that the court take, the police prosecution take, and what is considered to be endangering other people's lives is probably a bit different to what your definition of it would be.
Yeah.
And that's, or, you know, the general population or general public interpretation of what endangering lives might be, particularly people who are, you know, committing hooning type offences. But I mean, ultimately, that's something that could probably be argued if it's one person in an industrial area late at night, there's no other cars around, the nearest factories are ages away, and they're charged with dangerous operation. There's certain criteria that the court need to look at.
Yeah, okay.
And the manner of driving has to be dangerous in all those circumstances. So it's things like the nature and condition of the place. Is it a high built up in residential area, or is it out the back in the cane fields?
Was there people standing around the car?
Correct.
Was there people in the car? Was the car
roadworthy? Is there presence of drugs or alcohol?
Yeah,
things like that all get taken into account.
Yeah, because it's like, I'm just like on that, you know, I don't agree with a lot of stuff, and like me being like an actual car enthusiast and someone that's been in a lot of different scenarios in cars, like straight away, I could honestly, without the science, I could tell you that speed is the cause of death, not burnouts. Like if you're doing donuts and you hit something, I would be very, very surprised if you died. Like I'd almost wouldn't believe it. And there might be some cases, so I don't want to offend anyone, but the people where I know where people are dead every single time is lost control speeding. Like they've gone around a corner and it hasn't quite gripped and they've slid off the road. And like when you crash doing 100, 120, that's where the car's in half pieces, upside down. But like if you're sitting on the brake like I did in Sagano Drive, just sat on the brake and you're literally stationary, that's where, but the courts just paint it all with the same brush. He's like...
Yeah, and I think, you know, there's a lot of what ifs that come into it. So
if I was on the brake and what if my foot slipped off?
Correct. You know, there's hundreds of people standing around.
Yeah.
So, you know, it could be seen as dangerous. I mean, that's ultimately what you were originally charged with. So it's a fine line.
Yeah, of like what could go wrong if you're doing it. But it's it's pretty wild how it's all sort of comes under the same umbrella almost. But even like, I think, which is interesting, I've noticed, especially in travel, Australia's like car, like hooning laws is just insane compared to even anywhere I've been in the rest of the world.
Yes.
Like, no other country even has a thing barely like maybe in the States when you really freaking piss some cops off, like, but I see the videos, they're doing a burnout in front of them, give them the finger, like, and then they get their car taken. But like, Australia's like, I noticed this with that Skyline burnout that I said where I got convicted.
Yes.
I was in court, and you know, if you just go in early and sit down, you just watch the cases before you.
Yes.
And I watched like this one where this guy, he got drunk at a pub, he punched someone in the head at a club, got kicked out, walked out, punched the next guy in the head on the street, and then the next guy in the head. So punched like 3 of them in the head. Got a $2,000 fine and a 12-month good behaviour bond. And I was like, fuck yeah. Well, unfortunately for them, but I was like, fuck yeah, if that's what he got, the judge is going to let me off.
Yes.
And then the next one, this guy got his third charge with dealing drugs. And it was same thing. It was like 12-month thing, $1,800 fine. I was like, mate, the judge is going to shake my hand and go, you're a fucking legend. And then I got like a $3,300 fine, 12-month loss of license, a letter to impound the car, this, that, because I did a burnout in my own shop.
Yes.
And that was the first time it really took me back where I was like, how do they think this is so much more serious than like assault or drugs or like, but like you said, it's probably the community that they probably get the complaints about the most, so they might like, you know,
That's right.
The community's not going to complain about drug dealing because they don't see it. There's nothing there for them to annoy them. But someone does a burnout and it's too loud or the smoke or this and that, they're going to.
Yeah, there's definitely a community aspect to it if there's a lot of complaint. And I guess, I mean, I can't really speak for anywhere else in the world, but there's definitely a culture around hoons, particularly on the Gold Coast. I mean, it might be the case that America just doesn't have a Troy Candy posting to their hundreds of thousands of followers.
They've got their Troy Candies there, that's for sure. I follow them. But like, it's nuts. Like, I don't know if you ever saw that video where I did the burnout in the Corvette in LA. I was doing donuts and got pulled over by a cop.
In Vegas? Oh, that was a BMW.
No, yeah. No, in LA, I had this C6 Vet doing donuts, cop pulled me over. And obviously once he heard my accent, it changed his attitude a bit because he was probably like, fuck, I can't be fucked.
Yes.
But he literally said, man, just fucking stop it.
You naughty boy.
You naughty boy, go. Like, I was like, holy shit, if I got caught doing donuts by a cop in Australia, it'd be like months of trials, car impounded, thousands of dollars of fines, like.
What's else? Okay, you been arrested before?
No.
Anywhere? Australia here? Anything like
Oh,
that?
yeah, at home.
What'd you get arrested for over there?
Driving. Just driving stuff.
Nice car, sweet burnout, but a little illegal, okay?
Sweet burnout. Fuck, I was going to snap second and really let it rip too.
You know, it's like, I know I was Australian over there, so it was a little bit different, but still, he was like, couldn't be fucked. It was just a burnout.
Well, I mean, the other thing is here, you know, we've got Road Policing Command is a division of the police force which is specifically designed for traffic-related
Like
offending.
I think in Melbourne it's Traffic Management Unit or something, TMU.
Or Highway Patrol.
Highway
often.
Patrol, yeah.
So, you know, those, it's like a specific division.
That's all they do.
Yeah, and they're the ones that are going after these hoons and what have you with a view of trying to ultimately stop these hoon events from happening.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, a lot of it can get pretty out of control. Like some of the stuff that
I
I've
see
seen,
like fireworks, people hanging out the windows, fucking.
tyres exploding,
Yeah, that's full on.
arguably dangerous.
Arguably dangerous. It is. Look, that like I said, there is some things that I'm fucking all for against. Like, you know, getting people off the road in public, getting you know, drink drivers off the road, even people doing stupid speeds on. Fuck, I sound old. I'm getting old. But people doing stupid speeds, like, look, if you're gonna go do 200 on the fucking M1 at like 2 a.m. where there's literally not a car in sight, but like whatever, I still wouldn't agree with it because I don't like speeding. But
And it's also illegal.
and it's illegal. But people swerving in between cars and that, like, you know, fuck them to get them off the road. Like, I'm not some fucking hoon that just loves every single skid. Like,
Well, the big difference too is that in Australia you can have a 1965-year-old model Holden that's barely holding together.
Yeah.
And the thing will be registered driving down the road. You know, in places like Germany, you've got autobahns. They've got a real high standard of what the cars need to be.
Yeah, because you can do 200 in the.
That's right.
fast
And the
lane.
roads are all very high quality. There's been a lot of money spent on infrastructure. There's, you know, the really high standards with respect to vehicles. We don't have that here. And I think that's ultimately why we don't get the luxury of driving at whatever speed we want.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll tell you what, if I was president, I'll tell you what. Wait, Prime Minister. I'm too invested in the Trump Biden thing now. If I was Prime Minister or some sort of person who's in control of the roads, I reckon the easiest step would be our licenses to get are so fucking easy. No one has any idea of what to do if the car spins out or they hit a puddle and it slides. Like in other countries, like you said, Germany and that, they all have to do some sort of self-defensive driving course. So if the car spins out, they've got some idea. So the standard of car, which, by the way, fucking pisses me off. You'll have I've had like a brand new car that all I did was like slam it and put 20s on. Actually, when I brought your C63, I got pulled over because like half the car was blue and then it went to black. And the cop pulled me over because he said, look, on the system, your car's black. And I'm like, well, it's half blue, half black. The lady at the TMR said I can't have both, so which one is it? So I said black, and he goes, I think it's more blue.
Oh.
I said, well, it's actually more black. And he said, why? And I said, because I printed the wrap and it's half, and I left the roof black. So I think it's more black. Sitting there carrying on, he just defects it. And I'm like, you cocksucker. I'm like, this car is so fucking safe. It's a fucking brand new C63S, top of line fucking suspension. Oh, I put Chinese tires on, but everything else, it's a fucking safe car. And we're standing on the side of the road while these absolute buckets are going past. And that's one thing I think that pisses car people off, because you can have such a nice car and say you put some big rims on and lower it, they'll go straight for you. And like, I've driven buckets around. Like, I've driven the biggest pieces of shit around just while I've like needed money, and, you know, I sell up something nice, drive a bucket around, and
Or by choice, VT.
yeah. Oh, fuck VT. You do not get looked at. But like, you will not get looked at. You go through a RBT, they wave you through anything. As soon as you drive a nice car, pull in, mate, give us a closer look, fucking pop the bonnet, this, that. Like, it's like, if we just focused on actually getting the buckets off the road, sorry to people that have buckets, but like I said, if one of you guys on bald tires smashed into my fucking wife or something, or, you know, God forbid something happened, it's not cool. If we got the buckets off the road, focused on keeping the cars at a better maintenance, and then had, I think, more of a driving, like, even like you can be like, if you're like 80, do you even have to reset license, or if you've kept it, you've kept it? Like,
Someone was telling me the other day about a family friend of theirs that's 93 still driving.
that's what I mean. Like, maybe they're a good driver, but there's a higher chance they should probably have to reset the test.
I would have thought the reaction times would be down a little bit.
Yeah.
Just slightly.
Halfway through the intersection, oh, it's red. But like, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you focus on getting the kids in the industrials doing burnouts, this and that, to save like fatalities and get the road toll down. But fuck, if you want to get the road toll down, make sure the cars are good. Make sure we have to sit better licenses. Maybe people have to resit their licenses. I saw in SA that people have to get like a supercar license now. With that guy plowed into that girl. It's actually really fucking sad, but there was a car meet. He pulled out in the Lambo, tried to be a mad dog, lost it, and ran over a girl, killed her. And I think in respect to what happened and her and her family, they've introduced this supercar license now.
So if you own a supercar,
You'd have to get one. So, look, I don't think that's a bad thing. Like,
well, you mentioned overseas. I mean, there's countries overseas where you can't learn how to drive from your parents. You have to get professional driving lessons, and the reason being is that if your parents have got bad habits,
yeah,
you're going to pick them up.
Well, there you go. So,
and I think it's Scandinavia. I mean, I learnt this on Top Gear, so it's definitely true. They teach you how to do a Scandinavian flick as part of your driver training, and it's all like you can't get your driver's license unless you've learned how to do it.
fuck, I would kill it. I'd be like A+. They walk out and be like, you're a legend. But see, that's what I mean. I like my mum, if she went over like a ice patch in the road and the car lost control, she would just probably let go of the steering wheel. Like she wouldn't know what to do.
Plant her foot firmly on the brake.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think, yeah, there's definitely more education that could be done and I mean, our cars are so different and the driving tests are still the same.
Yes.
Like the cars that people are driving now are so different from, who was I talking to? Like, Shady and Trey and that.
Yes.
Because I had the VS Clubby giveaway and they were looking at the ABS sticker and they're like, what's airbag system? I'm like, no, it's brakes. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, it was a cool technology that when you slam on the brakes, it doesn't lock up. And they're like, I don't get it.
They don't understand ABS.
Yeah, I'm like, this was a treat for us. Like, this was, you know what I mean? But like, we got taught like, when to brake, you got to like, don't jam it on, just try and slow the car down. Yeah, you can just go like that. But if someone's driving an old car, they'll just jam it on. They'll just lock up and go into something. Like I don't think they teach any of that, like any of that stuff now,
Well, it would seem so if ABS is just so common that young people don't know about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel old now.
What do we got? All right, let's have a look. I mean, I could probably answer this. I had an insurance claim declined. Now struggling financially. Can I fight it? Once it's been declined, you can still do a third party recovery or like a. I guess it doesn't matter. You don't know if it's a house or an injury or.
Generally speaking, if it's an insurance claim that's been denied, you've got a right to appeal that to the Australian Financial Complaints Authority. AFCA, that's it. And AFCA are an independent body that can step in, assess the situation, ultimately make a determination as to whether or not the insurance company is within their right in the decision that they've made. And if they determine that they have made the wrong decision, they'll issue their determination or their decision. And generally speaking, the insurance company will follow that.
So you can. So the answer is yes, you can fight it, but whether it's worth or not. Do police have the right to search your car? So I'm guessing if you've just been pulled over for some reason. Would it depend on the reason? Like if you're doing 200, they might be like, or can they just search it anyway?
For a search, the police would need to have reasonable suspicion that an offence is being committed or being committed. So if somebody's got a massive history of drug offending, then it might be reasonable for them to form the opinion that there may be drugs in the car, particularly if there's intel on their system or whatever to suggest that, that this person has been pulled over with drugs in the car before. It might be the case that just your behaviour when you're talking to police might give them...
Oh, so that would legally stand in court, like, he was paranoid or say he didn't pull over straight away, he tried to run.
Exhibiting really odd behaviour, sweating...
So realistically, if they want to search your car...
Yeah, and then ultimately it might be something that comes into question later on.
Yeah.
If it was later found that they didn't really or shouldn't have had reasonable suspicion to search the vehicle or the house, if they've just come into a house based on a reasonable suspicion as opposed to having a warrant, then it might be something that could be challenged later on and potentially look to have evidence excluded that might be found.
Yeah. They might have to fix your door or something. Maybe. What would happen if you got caught with a gram of coke on you? I don't know. Say would it matter if you're in your house or on the street or in a club, or is it different? Same. It's a bag of coke, really, isn't it?
There's certain things that the court will take into account. So let's just assume that it's going to be a plea of guilty because it's on you. Well, to back it up slightly, the police have to prove knowledge and control. So if you want to try and run some argument that they're not your pants and that you had absolutely no argument that it's in your pocket and you think that you could reasonably convince a magistrate that that's the case.
Like you genuinely didn't know it was there?
Yeah. I think it'd be a difficult argument to run, but those things have to be proven. But let's assume that the person's pleading guilty. The court is going to take into account their personal circumstances, age, what they do for work, their education, their family upbringing, things like that. Obviously, the circumstances of the offence, why did they have it in their possession? If it's just a gram, probably less relevant, but purity can come into it.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, for a gram, it's probably not something that would go and get tested, but for larger amounts, it would ordinarily get tested to see.
In case they had 10 grams and then they measured it and they're like, oh, it was actually 4.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Correct. And it also gives some insight as to...
How do they test that? Just have a line and they're like, it's pretty good. That's fucking 100%.
No, it gets sent off to a facility and I suspect they probably just cook it back and...
Yeah, and see what's left.
Yes.
What would you get if you say, yep, I got caught 1 gram, first time, I was personal use?
Depending on the age of the offender, if it's their first time, it could be, for example, a fine. The court has a program that they can order people attend, drug diversion program.
Yeah.
Which I think would ordinarily be the court's preference for a smaller amount on the first occasion. They want to send people away to go and get some education.
Hear some trauma stories.
That's right.
Yeah.
Get some education as to why it's bad and why they shouldn't be offending, and how to avoid it. Obviously.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it'll be something in that vicinity.
True. I actually got some decent questions. The outcome of driving a high-powered vehicle on your provisional license. Does Queensland even have restrictions? I know Melbourne does. You can't have turbo or V8 on your Ps.
Yeah, they do. So you can apply for an exemption.
Yeah.
If I think one of the grounds is that if it's your parents' car, you don't have access to any other vehicle when you're learning to drive, or you're on your Ps and there's just no other vehicle available, then you can obtain an exemption.
Yeah.
If you are caught driving a high-powered vehicle without that exemption, you can be charged with an offence.
Haven't been charged.
I don't drive a high-powered vehicle.
I actually thought this was interesting. Information about medical marijuana driving laws. Like, I don't smoke weed. I don't know nothing about weed, but I've heard that now you can get it legally for some sort of medical legal amount or something. So then what if you drive on it? How do they say, hey, you're high or you're just doing it for medicine?
So the laws in this respect, I guess, have some catching up to do. And ultimately, it is an offence to drive with THC in your system. And the reason why they do it that way is because, for that exact reason, it's very hard to determine whether
breatho into it. It's like
whether somebody's under the influence,
yeah,
or whether it's something that they've had a day or two prior, and it's still in their system.
Yeah.
So it's an offence to drive with THC in your system.
Full stop.
Full stop.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, first-time offence is a mandatory disqualification period of 1 month.
Yeah.
And whether you've got a prescription or not, the offence applies. So ultimately, people who are prescribed have, I've had plenty of clients that have been prescribed marijuana and they're charged with that offence. It's an unfortunate thing, but the reason being is because they can't test for a level of...
Yeah, like they can alcohol.
Correct.
I mean, I guess there's some shit you can take. Like, surely you can't drive on like oxycodone.
Yeah, you can.
Can you?
Yes.
Well, fuck. Yeah, the laws need to catch up a bit because that's crazy you can get prescribed that.
Correct.
I had that when I broke my ribs. Not a fucking chance I would have driven anyway.
Yes.
I didn't know what day it was.
Yes.
That's wild, eh? I didn't know that.
You could be charged with driving under the influence of that drug. So rather than you wouldn't get charged with driving with a relevant drug in your system because, as far as the laws are concerned, it's not considered to be a relevant drug like cannabis is. But if you were to a point where, whether it be Valium, Oxys, whatever it might be, that you are visibly affected and that the police could support that you are visibly affected by those drugs or medications, then you could be charged with and they could support a charge of driving under the influence.
Of overindulging on your fucking prescriptions.
That's right. That's right.
This one was interesting. He obviously wanted to stay anonymous. And he said, I've always wondered what the minimum to maximum sentence would be for being pulled over with 28 grams of MD. And I said, can I leave you, or make you anonymous? He goes, no, make me, I can't even say the word, anonymous. because police raided my house while I was, I think he said he just left the house about 20 minutes and then police raided it and he had 28 grams of M. But he goes, that freaked me the fuck out. And from that day on, I just left that life completely.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I've always wondered what if. So I was like, oh, that's a pretty interesting question. Like, he obviously, there's a blessing for him because he's obviously doing well and stuff now. And he said he's never touched anything since then. But he's always wondered in the back of his head, what happens if they found 28 grams of MD minimum to maximum?
If somebody came to me with and said I've been caught with an ounce of MDMA in my possession, I would be saying that it is within range that you would serve some time in custody. Not guaranteed, there are options available to the court, but you're not going to walk out of there with a fine or a visit to the probation office.
True. There you go. If a police officer pulls me over for just say a defect, are they legally allowed to confiscate my phone? So let's go off the no priors, like the average person. They get pulled over, the cop says your car's too low and shit, and then they say, give us your phone.
Well, we get back to the reasonable suspicion side of things. If they want to start searching vehicles, they need to have reasonable suspicion. If he's got rubber up the guards and shit. If they
acted
on reasonable suspicion and it was later proven that they shouldn't have had that reasonable suspicion, well then obviously it might be the case that evidence gets tossed.
What if you said no? What if you said, nah, I haven't done nothing wrong?
Well, the police now are able to make applications. So generally speaking, when they go and get a search warrant, they can request the court make a further order requiring the offender or the suspect to provide a PIN number or passwords to electronic devices.
Wait, you know what I'm going to do? What if you left here and you got pulled over in the Porsche because the cop was like, oh, it looks too low and shit, and then he said, give us your phone? What would you say?
I would say that there is privileged information on it between me and my clients.
What if you weren't a solicitor? Would you hand it over? Would you say no first, or would you say like could they go, nah, you're under arrest now, like this is getting out, like, because you say no, like can it get escalate? Like,
well, if they're going to place you under arrest, they have to have an offence that you're
broken.
Said to have been
so
committed.
Could they say where your offence is not giving us your phone?
No, it's not an offence not to hand your phone over.
Yeah, but it could get you in more trouble later.
Unless there was a warrant which had been issued in the phone.
No warrant, no nothing. He just pulls you over, doesn't like your head, says, mate, I'm going to take your phone. And then you go, nah.
I would say, could I please see your warrant, sir?
Yeah.
Or
interesting.
Ma'am.
That's what I'm saying. It's no right or wrong. It's just what would you do? What do we got? How many times can a cop raid your house for no reason before it comes harassment? But then they've sent a second message. They only found stuff once. And that's been...
It was just this one time.
And that's been dealt with. All other 3 times they've found nothing. Okay, well, if you found stuff once, I think that sort of voids the question. But what if say I got raided 3 times and they found nothing?
I would say, Troy, you need some new mates. and stop wearing your bikie colours.
Yeah. So have you had anyone that's had a successful case with police harassment? Everyone always says it, like, when I post it, oh, you should sue them. Like, man, I'm sure it's not that easy.
Yeah, look, I mean, I've had clients who have been arguably picked on, frequently being pulled over, et cetera, But, I mean, generally speaking, there's some basis for it. It's never, in my experience, when I've heard of it, being completely baseless. It's either been because of associations, prior offending, solid intel that there's something going on, and it just so happens that each time they've searched that, it's not resulted in anything. So, but I mean, ultimately it's going to get to a point, if there is this strong suspicion that offences are being committed or that there is a need, after whether it be 2 times, 3 times, it's going to get to a point where someone will have to start answering questions, I would imagine,
Yeah.
as to why it is necessary to continue searching, raiding, whatever it might be, and continuously returning no result.
Well, that's why I got out of Melbourne, because I definitely thought I'd been picked on by the police. Like when I was 18, 19, 20, I was a dickhead. I was posting all these skid videos and everything. Lost my cars, lost my license, this, that. Slowly learned. And like, you know, by the time I'm 25, 26, I'd stopped doing anything. And then, you know, by the time I'm 30, I'm still like 5 years later, just if they see me, U-turn over a medium strip, fucking get him. They were coming to my house, waiting out the front of my house, in my street, at my work. And I was like, man, I can't even fucking drive anywhere without like, you know, it got to the point where I was like, you know, this is fucked. And like, even like, I think this fuck, no one actually knows about this. So you tell me after if I have to chop this out. But I applied for a liquor license in Melbourne. And I know you briefly know about this, but long story short, I applied for a liquor license in Melbourne when I was trying to start G-Up in maybe 2019. And then you got to fill out all the forms, questions, everything. And then one of the questions was, do you have a criminal conviction? And then in brackets, not including traffic offences. So I ticked no because I got a criminal conviction for the Skyline burnout, but then I read not including traffic. So I was like, oh, nah, it's traffic's car, like blah, blah. So I'm thinking criminal is like stabbing, guns, fuck, whatever. And then anyway, get a phone call from the cop. They're like, hey, we received your thing, blah, blah. Can you come down the station? I'm like, yeah, come down. And then I'm like, I realized I was being interviewed. I'm like halfway through it because I thought it was like a friendly chat, like, oh, so you're trying to get your liquor license? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, and halfway through it, I'm like, fuck, I'm being interviewed. Like I'm being charged. So I stopped, like, I'm like, what's the problem? And then I just finished the question. I'm like, nah, tell me what have I done wrong? I'm not going to keep talking if I'm being charged for something I don't even know. And then he eventually got to, he's like, is this your handwriting? Is this your signature on this question? Did you read that by lying, falsely?
False declaration.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't get what's wrong. He's like, so you don't, do you have a criminal thing? And blah, blah. I'm like, nah, not including traffic. He's like, but do you have a criminal? I'm like, yeah, but it was a fucking burnout. So he's like, but it's a criminal. I'm like, straight away, I obviously saw what he was getting at. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? So long story short, he turned off the fucking recording after. He goes, there's 2 ways we do this. I'm going to charge you with falsely doing a declaration, or you can withdraw your liquor license. So I rang Eunice in Melbourne, who's my Melbourne solicitor then. And I said, whoa, what else you doing? He goes, oh, fuck, just fight it. Like, you know, you've got every ground to say you would. And I was like, you know, I didn't even know what G-Up was going to be. It was just an idea. And I was like, you know, I'm not going to go fucking in because I don't even know what it's going to be. So anyway, I fucking withdrew the liquor license and left it. And then that was about 6 months later, I moved up here and I got a letter in the mail that I had to go to court for falsely. Fucking cocksucker charged me anyway. But this stuff had happened all the time, and that was my local Combe Downs cop shop.
Yes.
So it was just, I see that as being like fuck Troy, he's trying to do this, he's trying to do that, like, and just anything I was doing, they just kept stepping on me. And like, and that's stuff like that was just like, man, like if anyone else, they wouldn't have fucking looked at it. They would have said, yep, all good. But me, he found the tiniest fucking little fucking fuck up and then lied to me, made me withdraw and then fucking charged me anyway. So stuff like that, I really thought, I'm like, you know, I'm fucking being picked on. Like, I was glad I fucking got out of there. I'm like, fuck this. Like, even though I got arrested as soon as I got here, but, you know, once that was out the way, touch wood, everything's been sweeter. Oh, and the raid, but but still
Minor
nowhere
details.
Right, nowhere near as bad as Melbourne. Like every day I was getting pulled over. Every fucking day they were hiding in my house, but like out the front of my house, out the front of my work, whatever. But yeah, that was a pretty fucking crazy story, and that was like one of those things where it's like, fuck, is what he did was illegal, or was just I should have documented evidence, or should I have said, I don't want to answer any questions unless it's recording, or like,
It's so odd that all these people would have such a bee in their bonnet. I mean, it's almost like you spent years doing skids and posting videos and building a culture around
whose side are
hooning.
you on, bro? No, but like,
We should write a letter.
do you know what? I fucking, my dad said to me, never trust the cop. And as soon as I took that cop's word and then did it, and then as soon as I got that letter in the mail, I just thought of my dad saying that. I'm like, what? Why did I trust him? I just thought, oh no, he's got a badge on. He wouldn't lie to me. But yeah, there you go. I thought that was pretty fucking. That's unlucky. That's shit go. I don't know if I understand this question right, but when you get pulled over, does the sovereign citizen trick work? Is that when you're saying like you're not part of the Commonwealth?
Yes.
Does it work?
No.
Is it just some people that did some stupid viral videos and then?
Look, there's a big movement around it, and you see sovereign citizens in the courts from time to time. They're never successful.
Yeah.
There's some district court cases, and I think even higher, up to Supreme Court, maybe even High Court, about the sovereign citizen side of things. And
Just where they say, I'm not part of the Commonwealth.
Australia doesn't have the power to have made the laws that they've got, so therefore I don't need to be bound by them.
Yeah.
I might be butchering it, but I think that's the general context of it.
So general answer would be don't try it.
Yes.
Yeah. What do police do that they know they can't do and obviously doesn't stand in court? But I guess there is some stuff that I reckon there would be some stuff they do and just hope that you just don't know your rights or you don't. Because it would speed up their process of like.
Yeah, look, and it's a fine line because if they don't follow their processes correctly, like if they haven't given you your rights to silence, rights to call a lawyer and things like that, that might be grounds. If you then go and make an admission and say, yes, I was the person that had the drugs, or yes, those drugs are mine, or yes, I was the person driving the car. If they haven't given you your rights to silence, to a lawyer, etc., then if that might be that admission that they've got recorded on whatever device might be the only thing that is really sinks you, and that might be grounds to have the evidence of the case tossed.
Oh, because they didn't do it correctly.
Yeah, but I think they're obviously skilled in what they do. They're trained in what they do. So one that we often see is if they've got one of these orders from a magistrate to require a PIN number, you've actually got 7 days to comply with the notice. So they might ask in a particular way, or
Where you think you got to do it on the spot.
correct. If, it might be something like
So you got 7 days to delete your shit.
no, they'll take the phone, but at least time to get some legal advice as to whether or not you want to comply with the notice that you've been given.
Fuck, it's going to be hard for them soon because there's probably a way, or probably already is now, where people could like log in remotely and start deleting shit off the phone.
They get pretty creative. They've got these bags that they'll throw phones in that wipes off the network.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck, that's hectic.
Few steps ahead of you, Troy.
Shit, I'm gonna get a fucking Nokia 3315 just so there's nothing on there. One of my mates, Jose, and he's in America, and he's shipping his car over. He said, "Can I legally drive my car in Australia if it's legally registered and insured in California?" It'd only have to be a certain age, wouldn't it? Like how you have an Impala.
Yes. So a couple of things, and not something that I know plenty about.
Yeah.
I think it would need to qualify as a vehicle that can be imported.
Yeah.
Because there are certain vehicles that can't be. Those, and I think it was opened up recently, hence allowing Adrian to bring in a P1.
Yeah, the hypercar thing.
I think vehicles that were never Australian delivered or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
But obviously it would have to comply with Australian standards.
Yeah. Sorry, Jose, your car's not going to... I mean, you could maybe get a permit to go start getting it roadworthy, but maybe? I don't know. It's a weird one.
There's plenty of Impalas here, so I'm sure it could be done.
Yeah. Well, it's not an Impala, it's a GTO coupe, but
Right.
it still is a car that can be complied here. Shady. I wonder why Shady's messaging me. Is it true if police make an error in their paperwork, the entire offence can be dismissed?
No, not necessarily.
Sorry, bud. I mean, it probably could change the outcome a bit of the...
Well, it depends.
Have you ever had police information not match up and it looks like it's intentionally, like they've tried to twist it a bit?
I had a matter where there was a vehicle which was said to be doing a particular speed, and all the way through the summary of facts, the colour of the vehicle was wrong. And it was a situation where the car had gone past them when they were travelling in the opposite direction. They turned around and then sort of followed this vehicle that they believed to be the offending vehicle that was doing this speed, pulled it over. So there was an argument that was run that, well, hang on a second, it's a completely different colour. Are you sure you got the right vehicle? So in situations like that, and where it's gone out of sight, they call it continuity of sight.
They've lost it for a second. How do you know
that it wasn't some other vehicle, particularly if there's a discrepancy around the colour? So sometimes, you know, depending on the error,
they could put doubt in the judge's mind that
correct, it might be significant. Yeah. But generally speaking, I mean, if they've,
it's not enough to go, oh no, they spelled his name wrong. Because I've heard that people go, oh, they haven't even spelled your name wrong. You don't have to go to court. You're not Troy Candy, you're Troy Williams. A copper's allowed to fine you even after they say you're good to go. That's happened to me. They're like, nah, all good. I'm like, fucking legend. 2 weeks later in the mail, I'm like, that dog. Do they have to disclose?
Yes, they can. And depending on what sort of offence it is, so if it's traffic offences, you could be charged for up to a year after. So they've got 12 months to prefer a charge for a trafficking offence. Traffic offence, I should say, not trafficking offence. Anything against the criminal code, there's no limitation.
So they don't have to say, look, I'm going to send you a fine.
No.
Probably makes it easier for them because then they look like a legend and they don't have to deal with you fucking going, you fucking dog. If I was a cop, I just wouldn't tell anyone. I'd be like, all right, off you go, mate.
Have a good day.
Have a good day. Just let me get a photo of your license real quick. Someone asked me, what's the worst thing you've been caught doing in your car? I've been caught twice in Perth. So, or like I said, all the other times I've been in trouble, I'm like, oh, fucking idiot. I shouldn't have posted that. Or, you know, I should have waited at least a few months till the cameras lapse or, you know, whatever. But one time I was fucking working at Eye Candy on a Sunday.
In Melbourne?
Yeah. And Sunday industrial estate, you never see a car go past. I pulled out of the shop sideways.
Plumes of smoke bellowing into the air.
Yeah. No, maybe a little bit of fishy, just like a, you know, fucking knocked off on a Sunday. Get me the fuck out of here. Let's go. And as I was sideways, I just looked in my rearview mirror and a cop pulled in the street. I'm like, maybe I didn't see them in my rearview mirror. So he went further. I hope I can't get charged again. No, I got fucked up with this anyway. So I went over the hill down, moving quite quickly, and then look up head on. Fuck, there's a highway patrol coming at me. I literally got sandwiched. And they're like, "Why are you in a rush?" I'm like, "Oh, no reason." And then the other cop pulls up. He just did a skid. I'm like, fuck. And that was probably one of the, I was like, I don't know what sort of, there's no real getting out of this too easy. And then other one was, you know, like, I don't know if we have them in Queensland, but in Melbourne where, you know, you're waiting to get on the freeway and you've got a red light and green light to, I was next to my mate and I was like, he was just jamming me up and the light went green. I was in the Camaro and I just smoked it all the way on the on-ramp right in front of a cop. It was right behind me. I just didn't even look. Wow. I just saw my mate pull up. I was like, yeah, just fucking smoked it. So they're probably the two worst things I'd say I've been caught doing in the car. Like that was actually I've been caught.
Definitely wouldn't recommend the evade.
Nah. So how do they? Well, I didn't know they were following me. I just couldn't see that good. But how do they prove you knew? Like, 'cause sometimes you could be on a dirt bike, a road bike, and helmet on, loud as fuck. Maybe just not check your mirrors. Like, how do they prove?
Well, yes, they would have to prove that you're aware that they're there. But the thing is with evade, if that standard can be proven, mandatory loss of license of 2 years.
Fuck.
And there is a discretion with the magistrate as to whether they imprison you for 55 days and it's actual time that has to be served, or they give you a fine, which I think last time I had a client that was charged with it, it was about $7,500.
Fuck.
So it's one or the other, and you don't get to pick as the offender. You don't say
Either way sucks. I'd rather pay the fine, but fuck.
Yeah,
There you go, guys. Don't evade police unless you're a fucking gun. That's crazy. I didn't know it was I didn't know it was that fucking full on.
Yes.
I guess it needs to be because people have got guns and drugs in the car.
Well, and oftentimes those evades are the ones that lead to the big accidents.
Yeah.
Driving
Yeah,
through
true.
intersections, red lights, stuff like that.
So the only way you can evade police and get away with it is if you're like 16 because they don't care. Alleged. No, but how many times I've seen like in the news, little Timmy, 16-year-old, stole this car, got caught. He was released on bail last week from doing it and the week before that from doing that. And you're just like, okay, so what happens now? He just goes again and then that's pretty wild up here. The
Maybe when you're Prime Minister, you could put that at the top of your
Done.
your agenda.
I don't know if this is even a thing, is it? If someone's made a large amount of money from crypto and fails to report it, what's the max penalty? Is that more of an ATO
Yeah,
thing?
it's tax
Can
evasion.
So it's that's pretty serious then, I guess. Oh, you just probably be asked to pay back the.
I think it would depend. A, on the amount. B, on whether it's as a result of a large investigation and you providing little to no assistance, or whether it's a discrepancy that's identified and you fess up and say.
One thing I've learned just talking with you today, everything is just so dependent on the situation.
It is.
It's like everything just fucking matters, like how many fucking priors and this and that. One last one I was going to ask you about. A friend of mine is a known criminal. I was charged with consorting. What do I do? So with consorting, is that the Gold Coast? That's a Gold Coast only thing or a Queensland only thing?
Yeah, it was legislation that was brought in ultimately in relation to criminal outlaw motorcycle gangs, and effectively what the police can do is serve people with a notice that will have a whole heap of different faces on it, and they'll say that if you are caught with more than one of these people, then
More than one. So
it's, if there's you and two other people on there,
but if it's one and one, it's okay.
it's okay. If it's you and two others, then you can be charged with the offence of consorting.
Just for not doing nothing wrong.
Yeah, it was ultimately, I think the intent of it was to try and limit the amount of communication that was happening between criminals. So they're serving these notices.
Fuck, it would have been easy if we still had Facebook. They'd just go on someone's thing, go their top 8. Send it in and go, sorry, boys. These are none of your fucking...
That's right.
So I guess my last question was, now, how many people... You got a pretty big team now.
Yeah, there's 8 of us.
8. So now that, going from 14, just wanting to get into it, to doing 5 years uni, to scaling up to now 8 of you in it, and it's quite a large office space. What would be the focus of the firm now? Like you said, you're meeting people, you start talking about injuries to commercial to this to that. Is there a certain direction that you would rather put more focus into to scaling the business?
Yeah, I think ultimately I'd like to grow all areas, just grow the business generally. There are areas that are more lucrative or more profitable, but I think my main focus will be just continuing what seems to be a very difficult task of putting the right people in the right places. It's very hard to find, and I think everyone complains about this in in any industry at the moment. Finding the right staff. It's something that we struggle with, is to find people who are just simply motivated.
Yeah.
Finding people that want to come to work every day and really
Treat it like they're the one that's in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, the team I've got now, they're great. Very, very good team. Very happy to have everyone on board that we've got.
Yeah.
But ultimately, yeah, I mean, it's all well and good to say I want to build this area or that area, but definitely finding the right staff. I want to be able to produce quality work. I don't just want to be pumping work out the door for the sake of pumping work out the door.
Yeah, starting to get a bit more picking, like you said, once you started to learn in COVID, who you could actually start to, if I miss out on that, it's not the end of the world.
That's right. Yeah, and making certain changes so that I can, I guess, not be working from 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. It's obviously necessary at this point in time so that I can ensure that we are producing quality work. And
It's not really sustainable though.
I can't imagine that it'd be too good for the health overall.
No. No way. What about you? What your and you, I guess, because there'd be things that you can do piece of piece, like basic contracts and agreements, like real basic stuff. And there's obviously things that maybe only you can do in the firm. So when you find yourself doing that real basic stuff and then you're missing out on allocating your time where it's making big money and doing the really crucial things, what would the crucial things that you think would look like for you? So for Mr. Blake, Blake has to be at court today. No one else. I have to do this. What would there be some stuff like that? Surely there'd be stuff that you really specialize in, or you have a really good knowledge and experience in it in particular.
Yeah, look, I think at the moment I'm the main person that's doing the commercial law within the firm.
Yeah.
But, having had a lot of experience with traffic matters, certain criminal matters over the years, I don't necessarily have to be doing the work, but I'm certainly involved and saying, look, this is what we've done on this previous occasion, or why don't you have a look at this, or why don't you have a look at that?
You definitely got some hours under your belt with me and Nick at Garage 84 in traffic.
Yes. Yes. But luckily these days things are a bit different.
Yeah.
And the both of you are grandpas now. So
I know. Something switches when you have a kid. I don't care who you are. Something just, as soon as you have a kid, you're just like, it's like that thing finally comes on in your head to go, oh, I want to do that, but if it goes wrong, if I hurt myself, if I get this, it's like, it happens to everyone, eh? It's
yeah,
like,
you definitely think differently.
fucking still love a good skid butt. Just a more responsible one. Hey, since moving here, I've been in Melbourne. I didn't touch a track. There was no tracks. Maybe Calder Park. Actually, I don't even think it was open when I was out. There was nothing on. So he was sick to get out to Queensland Raceway, get it out of your system.
Yes.
You're doing 140k an hour sideways out there. So when you think about doing a little second gear skid
Doesn't
on a
interest
street,
you.
nah, it's fucking boring. It doesn't get the thrill up anymore.
Yes.
So it has been good in that sense, but definitely having a kid fucking switches your head where you, probably won't do that. Yeah, I'll probably come home tonight. Yeah, I'll probably fucking. So
It
touch
definitely
wood.
gives you a different appreciation for life. I
Yeah,
think.
100%. It's no lesson, no info from anyone can change you like that. Like, and everyone says it too, and you're like, yeah, life will never be saying, yeah, whatever. Like, and then it happens, you're fuck.
Yeah,
it's hectic.
definitely.
But touch wood, we'll only be seeing each other on social occasions, not
Yes.
in the courtroom.
I'm sure it will just be social.
Yeah, fuck, we've chatted a bit. We've covered some things. I guess leaving on that note, I reckon I've covered most questions. Obviously, my audience is mostly curious about all the automotive stuff, and anything we've said in this is for educational purposes only. So, guys,
Definitely not legal advice.
definitely not legal advice. But if you do need legal advice, you know where to go. Blake Fraser or the team at Fraser, they're all capable in their own certain, what do you call it? So divisions.
Yes.
You got people who specialise in everything. So I know you're a busy man. You've been up since 2:30. Look at those biceps. They're waiting to get back in the gym, aren't they?
I have to wait until tomorrow morning.
Nah, done. Thanks for that, bro.
Get me going state to state, blowing tires off the rim, let them haters hate. ECM label, getting major paper, get your rough ticks now, cause we give it away. Got a Ranger, got a clubby, got an AMG, and Lord knows I wanna rim back that VT. Taking tires off the moped, man, in Bali, cause I never do it soft. When I party, upper cruisers on the map, man,